What is going on, Lucid fans? Welcome back to Financial Journey. So today I want to talk on some analysts and what they recently did right before Lucid's Q4 earnings. So I want to break that down and what it truly does mean. Outside of that, how 2023 is going to be extremely important for Lucid and its success. So I'm going to go over all the stuff you need to know. Make sure you guys hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And with that, let's get right to it. So looking at the intraday chart, market just opened and it does look like it is very much down, currently down 4.32%. So looks like the positives from yesterday and the economic data was very much short-lived. But like I said, when it comes down to the upcoming earnings, Lucid hasn't necessarily announced the date. So whatever dates that you guys do see floating around there, that is just still speculation. Until Lucid does actually announce their earnings, it is what it is. And Lucid does like to follow that 2-week courtesy notice to investors. So typically they always have done that, so there's no real reason for them to really change that at this stage in the game. But when it comes down to earnings, in case you guys haven't participated, there is several different things that people care about, investors care about: earnings per share, revenue, and future guidance. Under the earnings per share, there's a difference. So I just want to share with you what analysts do. So analysts obviously give ratings, as what a lot of people are very much aware of and used to seeing. So a lot of people are very much used to seeing, for instance, Bank of America giving a $21 price target or so forth. But a lot of individuals aren't necessarily always aware of exactly what else analysts do. For instance, they do give estimates on earnings, such as, like I said, earnings per share, revenue. A lot of analysts are giving estimates behind the scenes. So even as you can see right here, this is the Q4 earnings, the upcoming one. There was roughly about 7 analysts 3 months ago that gave ratings on Lucid, and whereas the average was 33 cents. So whenever you see a miss or a beat or whatever it is largely dependent on this. So like I said, roughly about 3 months ago, there was 7 analysts. 4 weeks ago, there was 3. So clearly 4 did drop out. And as you can tell, looking at the average estimate, it did in fact go down to negative 41 cents. So obviously, if you guys do a little bit more math, that means the bullish analysts on Lucid did pull their estimates. Of course, that isn't necessarily a positive by any means, because that could mean several different things. One of which is production, or possibly even just reservation numbers. Because keep in mind, over the last little bit, Tesla, Rivian, a lot of other institutions and companies have come out with misses on production. Even though it's very close to their expectations and their actual targets, it still is considered a miss. And I think that is a little bit more of a touchy subject with Lucid. If anyone ever brings up production, then yes, it immediately goes down because of a result of that. And I think it's always really struggled with that. This is why I've said 2023 is going to be very, very important. And we're going to really elaborate on that exactly why. But right now, the actual analysts, there's negative 41 cents for earnings per share. So like I said, this isn't necessarily the best thing that the bullish analysts did pull their ratings. And technically as well, looking right here, it's not as extreme as earnings per share. Only one analyst did recently pull their kind of estimate, and it was actually, it does look like another bullish one. So again, behind the scenes on the revenue front, it's all very much linked to production. And obviously revenue is very linked to number of vehicles being sold, and then obviously ramp up and also the production of the AMP facility and in Saudi Arabia is going to increase costs. So earnings per share in theory is going to be very much negative. This is why you do see the Q4 standing out a little bit greater than the previous quarters over that. So definitely things you need to know. Oddly enough as well, on Twitter and also on YouTube, I did a poll on both. But as you can see, how many vehicles do you think Lucid produced in Q4? And it, oddly enough, is very mixed. So under 2,000, between 2,000, 3,500, 35 to 5, and over 5. It's very all over the place. Keep in mind, I do believe that they need to do at least, it is, I think it's 2,800 or somewhere around there. I'm not knowing the exact math right now, but I think they do need to do at least 2,800 to hit that base mark of 6,000 for the end of the year. Of course, they could strive for more and do that roughly about 3,800, so the higher percentile, so the 7,000. But at this stage in the game, looking here, it looks like people are a little bit more orienting towards that 2,000 to 3,500. So once again, Very, very interesting stats behind the scenes. But like I said, when it comes down to 2023, it is very, very important for Lucid. And I think that's a little bit more of an understatement. Keep in mind though, I'm not a financial advisor. These videos are for entertainment purposes only. But based on what recently came out, some of you might already know this, Sony and Honda's joint venture as far as making a EV, it does look like they are doing a launch of 2026. And I'm just going to play this quickly. No sound really needed. I just want to show you the actual vehicle. It does oddly enough look exactly very similar to a Lucid. So it's kind of funny in that aspect, but keep in mind they have a 2026 launch, and based on this, it does have for the most part the same stats, if not better, for the technology aspect than Lucid. So this is why I've been really saying over the last little bit, right now Lucid has a very good competitive advantage, but only if we can actually produce vehicles. If not, if we are just basically waiting until 2025, then Lucid is going to be in direct competition with companies such as this, and also with GM. GM definitely is a very big force to be reckoned with. I think there's a big estimate that they're really going to be taking down Tesla potentially even by 2025, 2026. So I know a lot of individuals are very hopeful about the future of Lucid, but it is extremely important that Lucid produces a ton of vehicles in 2023, and exactly what the type of vehicles that the market does want, aka the peer. Of course, I could be wrong in that aspect, but like I said, I think right now Lucid does have a very good competitive advantage that they really need to capitalize on. So that's just my own interpretation. Of course, I always like to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly. Of course, analysts pulling some of their estimates, the bullish ones at least, isn't necessarily as positive as a lot of individuals might necessarily like. And of course, I think in general, we already knew that there was a lot of competition in 2025, 2026. It seems like everyone under the sun is making a EV starting in 2025. So this is why Lucid really needs to ramp up production, and that is, like I said, a very big understatement. But over and above that, I just want to give you a quick summary on shorts as of right now and what they are doing. Of course, like I always say, I like to use these guys as a benchmark, not necessarily because of Lucid going to be a squeeze tomorrow or anything, but once again, it's good to know. Short score is currently 85, utilization is 100%, and looking as far as what they are doing first thing in the morning, they are increasing 246%. Cost to borrow, in fact, is going up, so 36.43% is the average. In general, that is fairly good because cost to borrow and short interest are typically inverse, because cost to borrow is how much a short does pay to maintain their position. So it is getting a little bit more costly. So this is why it's incentivizing shorts to close out the positions. But the fact that shorts are really doubling down as of right now, or at least increasing first thing in the morning, that could ultimately result in some positive squeezes if there is some positive news that does come out. Of course, I don't see a mother of all short squeeze, as well a lot of people like to quickly shout out, but still could be very much positive as the end result for Lucid behind the scenes. So finally, I'm just going to give you a quick technical analysis, give you a good breakdown of potentially where things might go from here. Stochastic is still extremely oversold at 12, RSI is currently at 28. I do anticipate a lot more institutions to really increase their position because RSI below 30 and Stochastic below 20 is very good buying opportunities. And momentum shows number of retail investors for the most part are still getting in a little bit better than what it was, still below zero though, so that's something just need to factor in. And on the actual chart, still lower percentile of the Bollinger Band, but in general though, we're still in no man's land, so it's just going to follow psychological barriers up until potentially either having a good catalyst to push us over 7 or potentially negative to push us below 6. Once again, there is good economic data that is coming out tomorrow as far as consumers, the non-farm payroll, that potentially might be that good X catalyst to cause Lucid to get above that 7. Of course, there's a lot of different factors, but in general, you have to think long term with Lucid. And regardless of all that, I think 2023, even more so in the short term, is extremely important, as I already kind of said in the video. But if you haven't already, hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. If you do like my channel and want to support the growth, take a look at my memberships. Link in the description below, or just hit the join button at the bottom of the screen. With that said, appreciate you guys watching. Let's all make a lot of money on Lucid.